Hey guys, I am also here.
Yes, I'm here with my assistant, and both of us are bonked in the head today. My assistant was first to go.
Yes, we both got concussions this month. Like, actual concussions.
Like I literally got concussed like 5 days ago?
Yeah.
Maybe
4 days ago.
4 days ago. Yeah.
And I was concussed
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, a week or so ago.
Mm-hmm. I wish I could be like, yeah, like I just got a bit of a headache and that's it. But girl, I have never been concussed like this before.
Yeah, it's like full on memory loss, stupidity, like nausea. It was the whole 9 yards.
I literally haven't felt this stupid since chemo. Since chemo fog. Like, I'm serious. It's fucking crazy.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of just felt like myself, so.
And my doctor was like, don't look at screens for like at least 2 days, and then you can only do it for like an hour a day. After that, I'm like, girl, I gotta pay bills.
I also just want to say that I also gave this advice to Lisa before her doctor, which she ignored. And if we're thinking about it, when it comes to this topic of being bonked in the head, I am kind of the expert, you know? So,
listen,
a little
I
offended by that.
understand that, like, you guys are right. Also, my subscribers said the same thing. I told them, I was like, I bonked my head, and they were like, dude, don't even look at your screens, like, get off internet. And I'm like, I agree with you wholeheartedly, but
my bills don't.
My bills don't. Yeah. My bank account doesn't agree. Life just doesn't agree in general with me taking any breaks. I took a break to literally fight cancer, and the world literally said, now you're gonna be in debt forever, bitch. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you know what? And also, the fucking world just breaking up with you.
Yeah, they're like,
the worst man on earth just breaking up with you. And you're like, you didn't even date him. That's the worst part.
That's the worst part. Yeah.
Like,
oh my god. Anyway, whatever.
You know, if I mispronounce something, if your accent goes crazy, it is what it is.
It always does, okay? And honestly,
dude, you just developed a random lisp earlier. Like, it's actually gone haywire.
When was that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
See, you don't even remember.
I said 1,000 one time. One time.
That's crazy, though, that you just developed that.
Dude, I've said crazier shit just due to my accent.
Actually, you've just said crazier shit, period.
A bit of housekeeping news. So, since I am having a hard time keeping up with the schedule on, like, my channel and whatever, I'm still going to be releasing some random videos here and there, but I'm working on the deep dive, and it's kind of my priority right now. So, stream the deep dives, guys. For the podcast, we're gonna be releasing an episode every week now, and it used to be kind of really sporadic, because the thing is sporadic. That's what
there we go. Should we put a tally?
Yeah, well, no, that's so much editing for me.
Okay, sorry.
Anyway, so you can just ding every time.
Ding.
Whatever. Anyway, where was I talking around? The fuck? Oh yeah. So it's gonna be every week. Before was every 2 weeks, and sometimes like once a month, because I find it hard yapping on my own for so long, specifically in the podcast setting. Like in a video, it's a different type of thing than in a podcast, to be honest. And I think, I don't know, I feel like it's just more fun when we're yapping together.
Yeah.
For you guys too, because it's like more of a back and forth.
She had to bring out the big guns.
Yeah.
AKA the one with a Yaponomics degree. My assistant.
And also because we just have like, you guys seem to really enjoy the dynamic, and you seem to want more of it. So I feel like this would be like a really good place for us to do that, because reactions take a long time for me to edit. Even though it's like really easy to film, it's really hard to edit. It is the type of thing that we actually know a lot about, because both of us have a degree in visual arts. So it could be educational and a little funny, you know? It's going to be funnier than when I'm just trying to crack a joke here and there, you know?
Emphasis on funny for me. Educational, I don't know about that, guys.
Well,
take what you will from me.
Take what you will. I mean, it's going to be educational in some ways.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Sometimes you're just going to observe this monkey ass behavior.
Yeah,
And you're gonna learn.
I'm gonna give you some real world advice.
Yeah. Today
Do I
we're actually
remember
talking about
artists?
that. Today we're talking about artists, money, debt, and hobo shit.
Yeah, just like some realistic, non-BS, what it's like to go to school for the arts and actually work in it.
Yeah.
From a non-privileged position.
Yeah, because we've talked about going to school and how like ridiculous it is, the situations that happen, and how a lot of people are like, you should be grateful to be here, and it's like, well, you are the one who's not paying for shit here. Your parents are, so why are you talking to me about this?
Why are you even talking about gratefulness, babes?
I work full time to afford to be here, and I hate it because you guys are like brain dead.
Dude, it was actually the most annoying thing when people who like had their parents pay for their tuition would say that shit.
Dude, it's the most annoying thing now, being out of school, is like being around people in the creative field who didn't even go to school and didn't pay for any of it, but they can buy expensive equipment, they can rent the studios, they can afford to like actually, it's so funny because like they have such mediocre work anyway, even though they have the money to invest into their work. It's kind of crazy.
Yep, that's where we'll talk about that. We'll go in depth.
This is actually what we should be talking about now. It's the story that you were gonna say.
Yes.
I mean, tell.
Okay, we want to put a little anecdote there, like in the very beginning, so you guys can get a picture of
Like the norm,
like the frustrations, like the audacity, the just like, if I had to wrap up our experience of like being a creative now, like as our job, like we both do it and make money through it, but barely. Let me just emphasize, but barely. What it's actually like. Also going to school, very similar vibes. But anyways, the story goes, this was in the beginning of my career in the arts, and I was working on a creative shoot with this person that I had met, and I was like, oh my god, she just like me, because like just like her vibe, the way that she would talk to me, I just believed like, oh my god, like another person who's like really hustling and like struggling. And
hustling is such an ugly word though. Like people
I know,
have fucked it up. Like
I actually hate the word hustling
because it's
so
like
gross.
this hustle culture as like, oh my god, if you're poor, you're just dumb. And it's like, oh my god, learn a thing or two about like economics. I'm begging.
Yeah, hustle culture to me is like so funny. When I think about hustle culture, I think about those girls who do bullet journals, like wake up at 5 a.m., take a shower, and then open their bullet journal, and it's fucking like their agenda is like
lettuce.
It's like eat breakfast, brush your teeth, get your hair done. It's like no actual work. It's just
no
like
work. Just things that you do to maintain yourself looking presentable.
Yeah, or just
it's like it's like what you do just like automatically because you have to. You don't put it on a to-do list.
Yeah, and they're like, go to Pilates, reformer machine, and then they go home, pet your dog, like eat a whole bowl of edamame, it's salt, girl dinner, go to bed, wake up at 5 a.m. all over again. And that's hustle culture. Like, Jesus fucking Christ.
The funniest thing is that it's like, why would you even wake up at 5?
I know.
Like, you're the worst type of person. You're useless and you're square.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's like always,
pick one. You can be both.
Yeah, it's always like an aesthetic Pinterest babe who like lives in fucking Yaletown by like in a building bought by their parents or something. Anyways,
dude.
So the story goes, I'm like doing the shoot with this person I think is so creative, and like we come from the same background. Like I'm so convinced. Just even though
did you think she was creative?
Well,
like,
at the time, well. Like, I didn't think, like, we had the same, like, taste in things.
Oh, okay.
But, like, just from the way that she was as a person, like, I respected her as a creative. I didn't really fuck with the same style of art, but I respected her because I'm like, we're coming from the same place. Just by the way they were talking to me and, like, describing, like, what they do in a day and, like, their work-life situation. And also the way they looked.
Dude, that was so huge. Cause that's the part that, like, I was also tricked.
Yeah, because, like... You know, my biggest challenge in life is like, as a professional. Am I professional? I don't know. Do you call it creative professional? Whatever.
Yeah, you are. honestly,
okay.
it's so funny because like she's probably the most like established out of everyone I know. Not in the sense of like established to compare to them in a sense of like not having to worry about money or something,
No,
but in
I'm
a sense of
worrying.
like actually making something on your own, you know?
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't
my
know
God,
if I'm a
thank you.
professional.
Thank you so much. That's
so
actually so
funny.
nice. What the fuck? Thank you so much.
Not her being surprised and being nice. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, actually, yeah, she is my number one supporter. But I was like, oh my God, yeah, like let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, we do the shoot at her apartment,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, you just like me. It's chaotic. It's like, just like, so scrappy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, like this is so relatable.
like when you're trying to make something look nice, but you have like $0 in your
Yeah,
pocket in a dream.
yeah.
Like basically that's
it's like a diamond
aesthetic.
dream, you know, like we're like what we do, where we literally print out fucking pictures on A4 paper,
Yeah.
shittiest inkjet whatever printer, and just like tape it with
Yeah.
scotch tape. Like it was giving that vibe, you know, but it was also really charming because it like reminded me of like myself and
Yeah.
all of that shit. And I was like, oh my God, this is so great. And like also going back to like aesthetically, I felt like we were so aligned because they just looked so fucking like tired and scrappy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's me. Because even though I am a professional, I like can't care enough anymore to like put too much effort into myself. I'm not gonna lie.
It's just difficult in general. Like I think that if you have an unlimited amount of money and you don't have to worry about rent, food, and other things like that because they're so covered and you're so secure, then honestly taking care of yourself isn't as difficult because you
it's
have so
not.
many things. Like you can have somebody on a fucking retainer,
Yeah, like
just to like do your fucking makeup or something.
yeah,
you
like
know?
self-care would be enjoyable.
Yeah, self-care would be enjoyable and it would be such a smooth process.
Yeah, and also just like time.
Yeah.
Time is like something I also don't have, like to do all of that shit. Fast forward, we're vibing, we become BFFs. Like I love her, we love each other, it's so cute. Like I could tell her about my problems, yada yada yada. And then slip of the tongue, I found out that her parents, they got some money, apartment paid for, equipment paid for, doesn't work.
Yeah.
She like works for fun.
Yeah,
Like,
that was the part that like killed me.
It's like, it's so crazy because like she would literally work these weird jobs for like just a couple days, like 2-3 days for the plot. She's like, yeah, I was a maid once, but it was like one day.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, I was
a
like
host.
a bartender at a strip club.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, like so grimy, so whatever, you know? Like not that strip clubs are grimy, but you know, like very very like,
well, that was the approach that it was. Well,
like
that
very
was the tone that it was set in.
yeah,
kind of.
yeah, very like A24,
Yeah,
like
I had a
like
life.
indie girl.
I'm like so like
Yeah.
complicated because of my background.
Yeah, like groupie vibes, you know?
Yeah.
Did not have to do any of that. Like did not pay for anything. Like she was fully doing it for the plot. And that was the first time and this is years ago, by the way. First time I ever experienced poverty core.
Was she the first one?
I think like I mean like she's not the first because the university definitely was like there were
was the
so
first
many
one.
people, but like I didn't really have an understanding of that in university, but this was the first time I'm like,
You're doing it outside of like you don't have to, because the thing is in university you can also kind of say like, oh well, they're tired, that's why they like look like this or whatever, because we all have like courses, shit like that. But even then it's so funny to like find out that half of like not even half, like 70 to 90% of your classmates paid someone to build this thing for them for a class, or they paid someone to bring it into the school, because that's the thing that's actually taking up time, energy, and like literally kills your spirit in school, is those things that they got to pay for.
It was great. It definitely wasn't the first time I experienced someone like that, but it was the first time that it hit me like a truck, because I like developed.
You didn't see it at all.
Yeah,
coming.
I did. No, and I developed a relationship with this person off of like
based off of that.
Yeah, based off of that.
Off of like being like kind of like relating.
Yeah. But then only to find out that like, oh yeah, we worked the same scrappy jobs, but she actually only worked it for like 2 days.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, ooh, it shook me to the core.
Dude, that's the problem. Like, I think honestly it's there's like a certain amount of people in privileged circles that actually don't mind bringing in people from the outside into those spaces. And it's crazy that those people who pretend to be from humble beginnings, let's say that way, that they try to basically get those positions. They basically don't I don't know if they realize. I think that they do, because they saw how people give props to people who came from nothing. Like the way that people respect Rick Owens and stuff like that is based off of that. He has a reputation because of it.
Like it's everybody wants to be that, like, I come from humble beginnings, rags to riches stories, because it seems more impressive. But so many people,
they're just lying, and that's so disheartening. Because like
there's
for
so
us,
little.
for people who actually come from nothing, or from basically doing things like being completely outside of creative fields, we don't have, like, for example, I did not understand even what fine arts really are until I was in university. I had no idea, and like I probably just like actually figured it out until like I think I figured it out in like year 3, because the first 2 years I was actually half in film production, and I was not grasping the difference between like what would a film, you know, a regular film versus a fine art film, what the difference is.
Same.
Because the thing is, when you look at it, technically speaking, something artsy can be considered art film, but it's not really, not always. Like, it's like fine art is a very different kind of space that it's really hard to understand the way that it functions, because everything about it, all the things that people, professionals in this industry, think are basics, are gatekept until you are inside. And that's why only people who have parents in it, who have like some kind of connections to it already, those are the people who actually understand how you can utilize your time in university better, how you can utilize your time in masters better. The fact that you need to get, for example, it's better for you. I didn't know that what the fuck residencies are. I didn't know they even existed, and I still to this day don't understand why some people do them the way that they're doing them and other things like that. I don't understand why some people get them and others don't. Oftentimes, because I haven't really like applied to those or anything like that. It's not like me speaking from an experience of like, oh, I didn't get it, so I don't know, whatever. It's more like I just genuinely don't understand based on like who I know is like a resident at some gallery or whatever. Like sometimes it's just like people who record the sound. Like I know that there was like some artist who was just like recording sounds at a grocery store or something like that, and it's like, okay. I mean, I'm not saying you can't do it as an artist. I'm just curious as to why the gallery thought that that was the person to invest their money in. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's really interesting to me, because from the outsider perspective, it's not the type of artist who would bring more outsiders to watch or to look at the art, because it's not actually interesting or accessible even to people who are in the industry, let alone people who are outside of it.
Like if I were passing by that and I like that was the art that they were advertising, I'd be like, the fuck, no. And I'm in it. Do you know what I mean? So I can't imagine.
I understand what that artist is talking about. Like when I read their artist statements and whatever, I'm just sitting there like, yeah, but like, why would you?
It doesn't make me feel anything.
It's more like, know? I think you're just doing it for no reason. And it's like, I mean, I guess, but I just don't understand why those people can build a career off of that. And then when you really look at it really closely, you realize that they just knew how the system is built. They just understood who to talk to, why you talk to them, where to spend your time. And it's really strange because it kind of really changes your opinion on art in general, because you're just sitting there like, why are any of them in the arts at all? What's the point? Because you're there to be a marketing person, not an artist,
right? I have a serious distrust of curators nowadays. Like, I don't trust their taste. I don't think they're curating anything at all. I think they're just like getting their, I don't know, like their artist friends like firstborn daughter and being like, let me just put your fucking visual artwork.
We know ourselves people who just give sponsorships and placements in galleries and whatever based on friendship. Like, they just take their friends in. That's it. Which is like, I'm not saying you can't, like, if you have a friendship with someone, you like their art or whatever, that you can't put it there. It's just really strange that they go so overboard, so heavy-handed in their prioritization of that person or of their like friends instead of like just artists in general, that it is so apparent. It's crazy. They're not even trying to hide it. That's the funniest part to me.
And it's like putting like wasting people's time, like applying for these jobs, even though they already know they're going to give it to their friend, and just like
that's putting the whole don't get.
Doing like this, especially with residencies and other like art, like any type of art residency or nonprofit, whatever. They'll be like, yeah, you have to do this like 10-step application. But they're like, for nothing though.
And the funniest thing is that they ask for like proof of like income, a bunch of other things that are like really personal information. And it's like, it feels like selling your entire existence or like monetizing your trauma.
Yeah.
For the sake of like maybe getting a piece of, you know, something for a year or so. Like, it's really uncomfortable and weird and makes you feel like you're cheapening your entire existence by sharing that information that's not for them
to like really know. And
because the thing is, I obviously yap online a lot about things, but the thing is, I am not I usually don't get a lot of people who don't give a fuck about those topics watching me. So it's usually people who relate more than anything, so I don't feel like I'm exposing myself for no reason. Like, I'm actually speaking to people who have some kind of idea of what I'm talking about. But this, it's like, it always feels so weird because you know that most of those people are privileged and they're not getting any of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, to them, you're always kind of this other, you know? I don't know.
Where were we again?
Poverty core.
Oh, I was gonna say before we went on that tangent, that long ass tangent we just went on, that this is the reason why we're doing this episode and this like going. Wait, no.
This is why we're talking about this in general, because people just don't tell you the actual information. They tell you like general bullshit.
Yeah, this is why we want to do it, because we were talking about this like yesterday or a couple of days ago about how there's so many like especially if you're like in something like art adjacent, like you're in fashion or you're whatever, even in fine arts, like there's so many like podcasts and YouTubers who like are like, let me give you advice on how to become an artist, how to become like a stylist, a fashion designer, how to become a YouTuber. And it's like the most vague, like,
you should do it.
Yeah. The more you do it, the more you'll like, the more views like, you'll get.
No shit.
Yeah.
No
it's like,
shit.
It's like no one's actually telling you like the nitty gritty, like what it was actually like to get to where you're like, to where they're actually at. You know?
That's why we wanted to mention Virgil Abloh. And like tell about that, because I don't.
Yeah, like we were talking, R.I.P. Virgil Abloh, the creator of Off-White, who before he passed released I think this was online, kind of like a manifesto of some sorts on how he started his brand, because he didn't go to school for fashion design. He didn't really have, you know, like the craziest beginnings, and how he started from just printing graphics on a t-shirt and selling them to becoming literally the creative director of Louis Vuitton, like free access to anybody. And like that was, I didn't really like Off-White, just like design wise, like I wouldn't wear it, but like I have so much respect for that, because he like actually was like, this is how I fucking did it, not like the bullshit that you like network. It's like, how do you get into places where you can network with the right people? You know?
But also the thing is, they don't want to, like, they will chat with you. They don't want to give their resources outside of their own circles.
Yeah, no, exactly, because they're already part of those circles.
They're not part of it. Yeah,
they wanna. They're just being like the aesthetic, like kind of like the story I was just saying. They're kind of like, oh, I want to show people that I'm like one of those artists who are like free for all, but they're like fucking not. It's just decorative, you know? Like, I'm here to help others like get to where I am, but they're not actually doing that. They just want to come off as that.
Yeah.
Because like I've
It's
literally,
an aesthetic.
yeah, I've literally learned nothing from podcasts that talk about, you know, like how to get into the job I am in now, or like books I've read too are so unhelpful. Like, I just had to raw dog it.
Seriously.
Yeah, we're gonna be really brutally honest. I think that's the goal of the potty. The potty. DDY, okay, not TTY or potty. Well,
okay. Well, what is the advice then?
Sulavu. What is the advice?
That's it. The episode ends. We just like shitted on a bunch of people who were too vague, and then we just end the episode with Sulavu.
No, we'll get into it. How we got into what we're doing now. I mean, they kind of know about you.
Yeah. So you should do it. Because I already... what did I do? I just started making videos. Mm-hmm. And I already knew how to do it, I guess. Also, I am quite lightheaded right now. Maybe let me grab some water.
Yeah, maybe take a break. So when I started, I'm also kind of in a weird transition phase right now. I hate saying that I'm in design because I don't like the idea of it being, I don't really think it's design. It's I feel like it's a little bit more like abstract than that. But anyways, I knew that I wanted to do something with textiles and garments because I liked sewing. And before this, I was like working a normal, like numbers based fucking computer job for a corporation that I no longer fuck with. And I had asked them, they had a creative side, and I was asking them, like, please, like literally for 4 years, like, I have an arts degree, like put me on anything, I'll do anything on the creative side. Never went to fruition. In 4 years, like I'd been doing it for 4 years, begging them, never happened. So I'm like, what can I do to like boost my, I don't know, my portfolio so I can apply it elsewhere for creative jobs? And I was like, I don't know, I could show, I like had my portfolio for my art, but I was like, I also need to make money, so I need to go something like, I was in a fashion company, so I'm like, okay, I need to do something with fashion. So I didn't fucking know anyone. This is when I was freshly graduated from university. I made no friends in university, lol. So I was like, fuck, like what am I gonna do? So I ended up doing like a lookbook type thing where I like made clothes and also styled clothes and just did it with like, did my own research. I think this was a big thing too, was that I like reached out to people in a very organic, kind of awkward, because they're like, I reached out to people who are actually like quite established already in the city.
Quite established. How established are we talking? Because that's the thing that people, I don't think people know.
Yeah,
about.
not really like established, like, oh my god, they have thousands of followers, but like somebody, tens of thousands of followers, but like someone that I saw, they could have honestly like 1,000+ followers, but you see that they work in like a professional capacity, especially if you're looking for like a photographer or like.
How do you find those people in your city?
In your city? Mm-hmm. I think, at least for me, I first searched up, the easiest thing for me to find was models. Mm-hmm. Like finding models, because like agencies you can just search up, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like modeling agencies in Vancouver, searched it up, looked at like a bunch of different agencies, found somebody that I liked, and nowadays they usually have their Instagrams attached to it. I was like, okay, and this is really bad. I mean, like, I think like depending, there's kind of like an understanding like with other creatives, because obviously in the end the goal is always to like pay, you know, each other, but when there's like a mutual benefit, like sometimes we'll forgo that, which I think there was at this time, because I chose a model who kind of just was starting out as well, and I was just starting out. So I reached out to her and I was like, let's do something together. Yeah. And she, like, you know, we had a lot in common. She's POC, I'm POC, we're both Asian, like, whatever. So we're like, yeah, let's do this shit. So we met up, and through her, actually, and she was like, yeah, like, I know this guy, he's a photographer. maybe you could ask him. So, and this was luck because like he loved her. So it's like he was like in love with her. So I'm like, he was like, yes, so fast. And I saw already that he like was a paid, like that was his job. So I think that was like really, really good knowledge. He told me, like he introduced me to like a lot of other people who kind of worked in the industry. I think the biggest thing for me was like to be impressive from the get-go. Like I actually worked really hard to like make clothing and outfits that I thought were like super interesting, not just for like putting it on my portfolio, but for the people who are there, like the model, the photographer, because I knew that they knew people. So I was like kind of doing like that subtle networking, because I also didn't want to be like, hey, like, do you know somebody? Like, yeah, can you like invite me to your parties and shit? Like, I didn't want to do that. Like, I actually wanted my work to speak for itself. And then and I guess like a lot of things too, which is annoying, is like obviously luck does play a part in like, everything. I got really lucky because the photographer that I knew a lot of other people, and then the model that I knew also knew a bunch of cool people, and then I started collaborating with them. You know, so kind of like spread out like a web of people. But I think the key thing to like how I actually grew, and I know a lot of people hate this because they don't want to sacrifice their creative integrity, but I think when you're in the beginnings of doing some kind of creative endeavor, it's like you're still growing. I was just constantly putting out work, constantly working with people. Dude, I would never show you, I wouldn't even show Lisa some of the shit I've done, okay? Because like that shit was capital F fugly. Like, girl, I can say that I really grew like organically. Like I didn't really party hard or like network in that way with like a, you know, like the very typical like artsy fartsy fashion people or anything like that. Like I really just worked, did as many, if a shoot came my way, I would just say yes. Like I did that for the first 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I think honestly, in terms of like what people expect, I think that people are thinking that this type of party networking is the one that you should be doing, but that one is for people who have money. Yeah, because they can afford to be a mess. Yeah, because they can always pay their way through. Like, for example, showing up and doing your work as like a stylist, you need like tights, for example, or something like that. You gotta buy them, you know, and they can do it even last minute because money buys a lot of shit last minute. Yeah, but if you don't have it, you would have to do it ahead of time. Like everything, basically being poor is very expensive. Yeah, being rich is a lot cheaper. Yeah, a lot of things come free to you. Yeah, a lot of things, like people, like for example, get rid of something in the building. If you live in a you know, more of an affordable building, the things that people get rid of are actual trash. And when you live in a building where there's like a bunch of millionaires living like, there, oh, Le Corbusier table, or like chair, like let me take that in, that's actually happened to someone I know. That's what I'm saying. Like it's straight up the truth. Like you would go to, for example, like if you're working with some kind of studio, right, and you're like renting, if you rented 10 hours, they're like, let us give you 5 for free. But if you can barely pay for 3 hours, they would be so stingy with like even giving you like a little bit of an like a 30-minute, like yeah, like so real. They will be like this. It's just kind of like the truth of why I think that it's so unhelpful when so many people who are talking about this, they talk about partying and whatever, and I'm like, again, like you're talking about this because you have money. You might not think you have money because you're the poor rich. Yeah, you're like, you don't have 300 yachts, you have one, and that's why you think you're poor, but you're not. Like it's just like one of those things where people just like don't have perspective, and they think that their advice is helpful. Your advice is not helpful like at all. Yeah, I mean, I'm at that point now in my job where I have been to New York and have met people in the same field as me, and they literally tell me that if you want to like make a life here and grow here, which I never said I did, they just told me this like literally just fucking unannounced. They're like, you have to learn, you have to really party hard, like go rooftop parties, spend money on drinks, all this shit. I'm like, well, I'm not doing that because I can't. Yeah, you know. And I think like that's all they have to offer though, so that's what they have to do. And they're not lying though, because it's like they're not. Yeah, everybody who like makes thousands of dollars in New York being
a photographer, a stylist, a model, a whatever, like do go to these parties, but they're already like majority of them do come from money. So it's like,
yeah, they're basically making money just to justify it to their mommy and daddy while they need a penthouse in Manhattan.
Yeah. And like, we're not saying that that's everybody, okay? We're not like trying to say,
oh my god, yeah. Well, I mean, none of like dumb bitches don't watch this podcast. It's fine.
Yeah,
you don't have to over explain anything. But it's just like, it's one of those things where sometimes you might not gonna be able to like find like a model and whatever and like meet somebody that way. What you could do another way to find people who actually do work in your city, find brands that either exist in the city or they should in the city sometimes, by just like looking up which ones have headquarters here, then see through that, find their Instagram, go on their Instagram and look at the credits of like who they're crediting.
That's a good way too,
because like sometimes a makeup artist is going to be tagged or something, and that makeup artist is working with big brands when they do shoot in your city, which is maybe rare, or like they get sponsored by some makeup brand or whatever who is like a really big company, but it's not as normal for them because they're still not that huge. So you could still meet them and work with them, and they the problem is not the problem, but it's not like you're trying to climb the ladder by like making this connection or something like that. It's more that those people are committed. That's what it is. That if you are committed to making it work, you want other people around you to be committed to making it work.
Yeah.
So that's why finding someone that way at least lets you know that they're in it to actually work.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like the more you do that, like I think the scariest part for a lot of people is like the reaching out, because like the rejection fucking sucks. You got to do it. And honestly, through that, you do find people who have like, it's great when you make relationships that are long lasting because they have the same like hunger and drive as you. Like they're really passionate about what they do. I have makeup artist friends that I feel I would always go to because they, you know, they're not necessarily doing it for the clout. They're just like, yeah, I want to work with cool people. And I think if you're starting out too, because here's what I'll say, you'll probably get a no if they're like, oh yeah, show me your work. And it's obviously probably going to be social media and there's like nothing, you know. I think you do have to build, you know, like establish what aesthetic you're going for.
Yeah, that's like that's the very difficult part, because on the one hand you don't have connections, so you have to say yes to whatever. Which means that you're not gonna have much control over the creative direction. Like it's just how it is.
Yeah.
And that's actually like the biggest problem, is that most of the work that you've done in the beginning, I'm sure that you're like, I wouldn't show it to Lisa, whatever. I'm sure just based on the fact that we actually worked together in 2020 before we became closer friends, because we just like kind of loosely knew of each other. Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, the photographer was ass. And he kind of fucking ruined the photo shoot. The entire time I was like, I know that you're like, the way that the lighting is pointing at me, because I have an education in this, I can literally imagine what I look like. And I know that the way he lit me up is going to make my face look weird. Is going to be something that like he's gonna have to Photoshop me to like gods, because it's just not how you light up a person, because you can make anybody look horrible by just lighting and how you style them and whatever. And that's why there's like always people like stylist or PR people or whatever on the end of the artist or the model and whatever, especially if they're big, because they have to curate on their side too. If the creative wants to shoot them in an unflattering light, it needs to be so artistic and so specifically like have so much merit as an artistic thing for them to actually say yes to it. Because if you're just going to light them up like that photographer lit me up, they're not going to say yes to the publishing of those images.
And I was going to say too, obviously, like if you don't, like how do you start if you literally know zero people? Sometimes it has nothing to do with actually getting into the work that you want to do right away. When I started which by the way, I didn't fucking have social media till I was like fucking 20. When I started out, like I honestly made my Instagram as aesthetic as possible, like the aesthetic that I wanted to pursue and like I wanted to be known for, but I did it through my own outfits. Like I didn't put my face in it because I'm like not about that life. So like
clearly Clearly, she's always off camera.
So I did like I like made really cool OOTDs. Ew. OOTDs and photos of like other things that I found matched the vibe. And I hate like living life. I don't live life like that. Obviously it's fucking fake shit, but that's what social media is for. You know what I mean? Like just live it. Just like go full force. Because even if you just have your social media looks a certain way, like your grid just looks a certain way, and they're like, yeah, this person, like you can tell they have really cool style, or like their art is really cool, they'll probably be likely to work with you even if you don't have experience in the field you want to be in. Professional experience, because I had nothing to show for myself in terms of doing art direction or styling, but that's what I wanted to do when I was reaching out to models and makeup artists and photographers. But I just had a really cool looking Instagram, and the outfits looked cool, like the OOTDs looked cool. They're like, okay, she could do something, she could cook, let her cook. So I would also say do that if you literally know zero people and you have nothing, if you have nothing to show for yourself. Can you imagine someone saying that?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to taking clothes out or whatever, pulling is gonna be too difficult.
Yeah.
Pulling is difficult as a stylist even when you are kind of established nowadays, because they're more and more stingy with it. So I would say probably either remaking clothes, maybe get some knowledge in how to sew or something like that, so you could actually like help yourself out to have something to work with, because you could go to thrift and find something that you could like modify a little bit to actually be on trend or ahead of the trend. Or
that's what I was gonna also address that. How did I even get the funds for that? I didn't. I mean, like I was still working full time in my other corporate job, so I did have money, but yeah, exactly. I literally would like rework clothing. I've done some other bad shit that I shall not name, but you probably can get the gist of that, of how I had to get clothes. Special discount, if you know what I mean. I'm not proud of that. I'm just saying, like, I'm just being realistic. Like 5-finger discount. Honestly, I'm just being fucking real.
Yeah.
And I was lucky that like I grew up knowing how to sew, but don't be intimidated by that. Sewing's actually so fucking easy. Like don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Like,
I mean, I find it hard, but it's because I hate it.
Yeah, I think you just hate it. But like you don't have to be proper all the time. Even if you just learn, you can get a piece of fabric or a blanket or something and drape it in a cool way, and it can look good in photos. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. You just need it to look good in photos.
You don't need it to be like
that's
an actual
honestly
thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because that's the thing with like a lot of designs and whatever. I know a lot of people are always like, oh, I want to wear this or I want to wear that, and they get like this diesel skirt, right? Like the one that you can't even sit in, and it's stuff. And it's, you guys, it was made to just be in editorials.
Yeah.
Like it was just made to get that logo out there and remind people that diesel exists.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the whole point of it. It wasn't for wearing. And I'm not saying that you can't wear it. I'm just saying that when people criticize designers for that, I'm like, it just clearly wasn't made to be worn.
Yeah, like that. You mean that like freaking stupid belt skirt? I hate that skirt so much.
Yeah, I think that it's honestly, genuinely just...
it is just for photos.
It's just for photos, and I'm not saying that designers should be doing too much of that, especially if you do want to have a customer and you want to have like something to sell. But at the same time, there is a big difference between what is on the runway and what is ready to wear and what is couture.
Yeah.
And you can make the most ridiculous shit that no one would be able to wear in real life for couture, and then have something that is inspired by that, by the pattern of whatever you did or whatever, for ready to wear stuff that you could sell. So you could take pictures in like a crazy ass outfit, fucking like the one that doesn't even fucking close or you know, zip up on a model. You can do something so crazy that you can only wear when you're sitting on half of an ass cheek, you know?
Yeah,
like something ridiculous that's just not practical at all, and then modify it, kind of like simplify it, or create t-shirt that's inspired by it, and people will buy it because it's associated with that thing that they loved.
I mean, there's like so much advice to give and like all of this other stuff. And
listen, the advice is gonna come out like in every episode. It's gonna come up because this is what you do for a living. This is what I talk for a living, talk about for a living.
Yeah,
I literally speak on fashion all the fucking time.
I think both of us, in the end of the day, like I still think like, yeah, I talk about fashion, you talk about fashion and like other like pop culture things, and like yes, like that is I think it's for both of us it's still a stepping stone, because I think at the end we both want to do fine arts. Like we want to do arts, okay? Like, so I think like this will be a good journey. If you want to do arts too, like we're kind of figuring it out right now.
You know, I can see myself doing something like a podcast forever without having to stop it because of being an artist or whatever.
Yeah.
But I definitely do need the podcast and the channel to be creating revenue for me to actually, because the thing is, dude, I don't know what the fuck is going on with the economy and everything, but this is, let's not even get into it because I'm gonna be here all day just like getting heated over things. But it's just one of those things where I do want to make art, but I don't want to make it as a product. I don't feel like marketing it in a certain way. I don't feel like curating myself in any particular way. If it's something that is like unpalatable because of either, you know, character wise or like political opinions wise or whatever the fuck, I just don't feel like anything to compare to people who actually are out there famous and influencing people and stuff like that. I don't do anything that negative, even in the worst. Like my worst is nowhere near the best of some people who are on this platform.
Is so fucked to even think about.
Yeah, like I genuinely, so I don't have to, like, even if people disagree with me on something or whatever, I genuinely kind of stand by everything that I say, so I don't have to, like, you know, worry about it. But at the same time, yeah, it's kind of like one of those things where I would want to make better work that's specifically art, or work that is a lot higher budget and other things like that. A lot, like, I would love for my concepts to not have to be super compromised.
Yeah, because of money and having that as
money,
a hindrance.
time, other things like that. Like I wish I didn't have to compromise on that, because the thing is, even if I would have had money, I feel like there's such a deficit of attention. And not just attention, because it's like you don't owe me attention, you know what I mean? But it's also like, even when people do resonate with something that you make, they forget about it way too quickly.
Yeah,
where
totally.
you kind of feel like you cannot get someone to invest in you to actually give you money to make something, because that thing is not going to make enough money back, because the speed at which we consume things is too quick nowadays, that nothing of value can be produced without like the suits cutting it down immediately. Anything that's actually not an aesthetic of made in your bedroom, like if it's an album that's not an aesthetic that's made in the bedroom. If it's not a movie that's made in the bedroom, if it's not like something like Inside by Bob Burnham, where he doesn't do super crazy shit, he just like in one room or whatever, that can only go so far, because it's a specific aesthetic and it's just one aesthetic and one approach. You cannot have all works in existence have that approach. And the things that I like in terms of artistic direction, they're grand, they're big, they're required too much. They require sets. I don't want to be doing green screen and other things like that. So it's like it's all like there's just issues upon issues in terms of actually getting there, in terms of quality, and in terms of getting your ideas, you know, presented in the right way. Because the thing is, I have like some things that I would have loved to share with the public, but those ideas to me are so precious that I don't want to waste them on like subpar,
half-baked execution.
Because I can't afford a good execution.
I totally agree. That is actually like the bane of like all our creative endeavors, is that literally, because the ideas are there. And I mean like the advice we can give and we are giving here is how to get into creative fields that are adjacent to being in fine arts, or can at least like fulfill some part of it. Like obviously we're not fully fulfilled because we need to get fucking bones, quite clearly, to like do these more conceptual ideas, but we can at least like give advice on that, on like how to get there slowly, or be like place yourself in a job that like is adjacent to the fields.
Even the fucking videos, even though I have like, I already know how to make them. I have everything that I need to make them, yada, yada, yada. Even then, when I set up for my absurdism video, right, I had to like whisper basically the entire time because I don't live alone. And I don't want to disturb my roommate. It's one of those things where, like, even those things kind of contribute to the fact that I cannot, like, I set up everything perfectly, but then I had to cut the video short in terms of, like, where I was filming, and then film in my bed for the rest of it, and then whisper the entire time. So I consistently undercut my own work because I don't have a choice, and it's always going to be frustrating. And especially when YouTube, for example, places me, like, you know, kind of blacklists a bunch of channels at the same time. Like, a lot of people I know, and me included, had like a bit of a trouble, we run into a bit of trouble with YouTube. One of those things where someone who can take the time to build a set, for example, for a video, someone who can spend the money to go to a place to like film it
like
and stuff like that, like a studio,
access to a studio,
or even go and like do like a documentary type of thing about something. You have to have so much money to be able to do that. It's just like really interesting that you're kind of competing with people who have access, and it's so funny how even with all that access, sometimes they're just like not that far off. Even with all that, they still can't get it together, which is so funny.
I know, it's like, so that's so
like, you got all that, and you still can't do it. Crazy.
It's the most frustrating thing fucking ever,
because you were like, you were given everything.
Imagine if I had that. Y'all would be entertained. Let me tell you,
it'd be over for them bitches.
It'd actually be over.
Like, it's just kind of crazy. Anyway, this has been a video on no bullshit advice. We didn't really talk about Artist Dad. We're gonna have to rename this episode, you guys.
We're gonna have to rename it,
because it was like, kind of like, it turned out to be like more advice how to get into creative industry than anything else. And like, you know, obviously the further down we go with this podcast, ask your questions, you know, unfiltered. Just do it. We'll try to answer as much as we can. Ask anything. It doesn't have to be art related, but it is more convenient when it is, so we can like kind of place it in an episode seamlessly, kind of like, you know, really have like a theme going. Because I know in the audience there's some sexy ass, creative ass, Pavo girlies out there who want to do the people that, honestly, the whole nine yards, that follow me on Instagram. I like see their accounts and I'm like, those are some hot bitches. Like you guys ate, like you kind of eat, you know. Like, I would love to see your ideas on the big screen. You know, like, I go to, like, sometimes I see someone's channel or someone's platform and I look at like who follows them and I'm like, damn, I got lucky. And I'm not saying you have to be on your Pavo shit to have this kind of character, but like, I'm just saying there's so much character building. It's awareness. I don't think it's even like I don't think it's Pavo shit specifically. It's just like well, obviously not, but like, it's not, but it's just one of those things that I think that, especially in this economy, most of us, like, there's, at least in Canada right now, statistically speaking, the average Canadian gets like, I think they said 56K a year, from 48 to 56K a year. And that's Canadian dollars. That's so little money. It's crazy. And that's I think it's the median. It's the median. And that's just like the average here. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize, those people who are like more privileged, that they think that just acknowledging their privilege erases their unself-awareness. Or their impact on their surroundings. We gotta talk about it. The gratefulness. This plague. This fucking, like, it is such a Western concept that needs to be like eradicated at its fucking root. And we'll talk about why, because people just like have made gratefulness out to be such a good thing, such a virtue. Which is like, every time you criticize it, people get really prickly, but we need to talk about it because it's actually a very, very dangerous and not a good thing at all. So true. We'll talk about that in the next episode. We'll talk about that in the next episode. Thank you guys for listening. Let us know what you think. There's also, if you're watching, or I mean listening on Spotify, there's like a Q&A thing where you can actually send in your questions, and I do see all of them, and I try to kind of write them into our episods. And they are going to be more consistent now. I can't promise that it's going to be up on Monday this time, just because bonked head. But overall, it's going to be posted on Mondays now. Like, you can expect it.
Period, poo.
Yeah, we're committing.
We're committing.
Yeah.
And yeah, ask your questions. It doesn't even need to be like related to anything. Like
just life questions.
Yeah,
too.
or just like funny shit, you know? Just post that shit.
Yeah, or like tell us about what you do as a like creative thing.
Yeah. Tell us a joke. I would love that.
Because this is I know that this is cliche, but this is the best part. Is like getting the feedback and like actually having a conversation with you instead of like speaking into the abyss, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I love responding to comments. Like when you go to my videos and go to like
oh my god, I love
podcast,
the comments.
I just keep
some
on
of you guys
like
are
talking
hilarious.
to people there.
Yeah. Like honestly, just in the Q&A.
The memes on my Discord.
Send a meme. Kind of send great. A joke. Yeah. Love them.
Fucked up.
Fucked up, but like so
like
good.
Really weird. But really good.
But that's on par.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Bye.
Bye.